All right, now we're here. We're going to do our first web app attack of SQL injection. Now we have the account login page. Make sure you navigate to that. And that's kind of where the hint came from on the scoreboard. It said, hey, we're going to utilize the login feature to kind of attack SQL. So I kind of want to go over this and talk about what we're expecting here. So let's say that we log in. Let's turn an intercept on. And let's say that we log in and we say test, right? And we log in, we'll intercept that request. And we can forward this one. We're looking for the username, password. Here we go. So we got email, password here. And let's go ahead and just right click and send that to repeater. And if we try to log in, it says invalid email or password. Okay, that's fine. What happens though if we try to throw something in here malicious? And let's back up just a second. I want to cover what's going on behind the scenes. So what's going on? Let's open up a notepad. Okay, so we have this input, right? We're putting in the email field, we're putting an input of test. And what's happening behind the scenes, say we have a SQL injection, all right? The SQL injection is trying to grab that. It might be grabbing something along the lines of select star from users where email equals test. Okay. So what it's doing is it's saying, hey, I want to select everything from users where the email is equal to this test, what we just input into here. Now, if we have SQL injection, let's copy this. I'm just going to paste it. Let's say instead we put, a single quote in here. Well, that single quote is going to come in and it's going to add into there, right? So we're saying, hey, from test here. And guess what? This completes the statement. And now this little other single quote that's left over is going to throw an error because there's no end to the second quote, right? So this isn't logically correct. And because of that, we could cause injection. If this is allowing us to inject this single quote here, then we might run into issues. So let's take a look at repeater. Let's say we put in the email here, we put a single quote and we send it. Oh, look what happened. So we got a 500 internal server error. And from that, we have got a SQLite error. Oh, this is so good. What is this telling us? Well, this is telling us, one, this is a SQLite database, so that gives us some information. And if we come through here, we're seeing that there's a database error. And when we get an error like this means we have some sort of injection. Okay, this is a big sign that injection exists. And something I actually have never really seen before, when you come down here, it tells you the SQL of what's happening. So the SQL of what's happening here is it's saying, hey, select star from users where email equals test. So we guessed that right, actually. And again, there's an and condition here. Password is equal to, and it looks like it's just hashing that password of test. And then it's putting in here and delete at is null. So if the account was deleted, if it's null, then it wasn't deleted, right? So it's saying, hey, this account still exists. It matches this password and it matches this email address. Perfect. So how can we improve upon this? Well, let's take a look back at our notes here. So we got the notepad. Let's make one more of these. So what if I made a situation like this? I said test or 1 equals 1 dash dash. And what's that going to do? That's going to come into here. And that's going to say or 1 equals 1 and the statement dash dash. Okay, so what is this doing? Well, first let's focus on this part right here. We're closing out this email. It says test and then we close it out, right? Then we're adding a condition. We're going to say or. So this email doesn't exist, right? Because it could exist, but it's going to say, hey, where it matches this or this is true. Well, guess what? 1 is equal to 1. So this is true, making this entire statement true. we add a ending here, okay? We add our ender, and then we put in a comment. Now, what happens with a comment? Everything after that comment no longer exists. So if we put that into here and we put the comment in, guess what? We don't have to check for a password. We don't have to check for and deleted is null. It doesn't care. What's going to happen here is it's going to allow us to log in with this statement. And it's going to allow us to log in as the admin user. Why is that? Well, if you recall the users we had like IDs of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We had Frank Castle at the top. Typically, ID number 1 is your admin user. Okay, so if we are going to log in as the first user in the database. This is going to pull back the first user. Typically, it's your admin user. So we're going to utilize common SQL injection here. We can copy this entire statement if we want and just paste this in. You can put anything you want in the password and then attempt to log in. I'm going to undo the proxy here. And that actually solved the challenge for us. We wanted to generate an error. And I could show you that really quick. If we try to log in with this, you get an object error, which is another indicator that something's going on this side. But this is why, look at what this shows you compared to what Repeater shows you. Repeater shows you a lot more information. So I always like to run my testing through Repeater. So let's go ahead then and try this and log in with it. And guess what? We are logged in. Successfully log into the admin account. All right. So here, let's talk about some more things. We've completed the challenge, and that's great. But let's also focus on what we're seeing here. What we're seeing here is SQL injection, and this is classic SQL injection. Now, there's a possibility that we have SQL injection and we aren't able to see it at all. And that is called blind SQL injection. That becomes a little bit more complex. And to talk about this, because it may show up in an interview, blind SQL injection, if you're trying to test for it, you might have something like this. And let's go ahead and pull up our little notepad again. So you might have a command in here where you say, we'll just make up a fake injection. Don't worry how it plays into the SQL statement. But you might say something like sleep 5, right? And it depends on the SQL database you're using. So the sleep term changes and how you enter it. So I'm just making this up right here. But you're going to say, hey, sleep 5. And what's going to happen is the website is not going to respond to you for 5 seconds. And then you're going to say, hey, sleep 10. And then the website's not going to respond to you for 10 seconds. Well, that's how you can determine that, even though you can't see an error code like this, like when we see this error code, we know we have SQL injection. This is bad. Okay, it's only a matter of time to figure out how the SQL injection works. And then we can kind of go from there and pull it off. But when we inject this and nothing comes back, it just comes back as like a normal login screen and we just have no idea. Well, then we could start throwing in like these sleep patterns and these testing to go with it and seeing if the page responds back or doesn't respond back. And Burp Active Scanner is actually really good at doing that and at least trying to pick up on these. It'll send sleep commands and see what the responses are and kind of help try to identify some of that. So that is it for this video. My challenge to you is to go into your injection here. Remember, injection, look at the different challenges that are available to you and play around with them. Make Juice Shop your friend and understand these. If you go through all of these challenges, you don't have to know how to solve them. That's not necessarily the point here. The point is to go through the challenges and even work through them in order of difficulty. So you just did a 2-star challenge. Maybe go look at the 3-star challenges and see how you can take those. The Christmas special is actually a really good one. And you can keep going through this and you can learn a lot about different injection here. And again, you don't have to know how to do this. Go to the challenge solutions, read the challenge solution and follow it along. Take notes, understand what's going on and why it's going on. So now you know what SQL injection is. You understand that, hey, we're getting injection here, and we're putting it into a statement and we're modifying that statement to make something happen in our favor. That's all it is. We can get very malicious with this very quick. So from here, we're going to go ahead and talk about how to defend against SQL injection. So I will see you over in the next video.